Welcome to Dialogue, a true crime conversation. This is your host, Rebecca Sebastian, and I have a question for you. Are you ready to turn your true crime interest into advocacy? I suspect so, and I hope so, because today I am providing a bonus interview with Ashlee Fujawa, the co-founder and head of community at Uncovered. Uncovered is a new platform that is combining data, analytics, and the wisdom of the bigger true crime community to help solve cases that are cold and unsolved for the missing and the murdered. I personally have worked with this team. I wrote some of their case narratives on their site, and this team is working tirelessly to create something new that is going to be such a valuable resource. It already is to the true crime community and beyond. They are incredibly inclusive in whose stories they include. I learned about cases I had never heard of, including women from the Indigenous community, trans women of color, and many people from marginalized communities whose stories had never been told in the mainstream media. Please refer to the show notes where you can learn more about their work. There's a ton of content on their site, articles about how you can be a better citizen detective. And right now they're in the middle of a campaign on Indiegogo to raise $125,000. And guys, they're at almost $85,000 at the time of this recording. Ashlee's going to talk more about the campaign and Uncovered. And if you care about cold and unsolved cases, this is one that you are not going to want to miss. With that, here's Ashlee Fujawa from Uncovered. Ashlee, it is so great to talk to you and see you today. Thank you for being on Dialogue Podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited to share with my audience what it is you do at uncovered.com. And of course, I know because I've had the privilege of working with your team, but maybe give a little introduction to who you are and what you do with Uncovered.
Yeah, so I am the head of community at Uncovered, and what we are doing is building a comprehensive database of all of the information related to missing and murdered cases, cold cases, unsolved cases. We know that there are over 200,000 currently that need answers. So we're bringing in all the publicly available data, whether that is podcast episodes, documentaries, media reports, public records, all the information into one spot. We're layering on technology. So we're pulling in maps, we're pulling in data points, we're visualizing as much information so we can have people come and interact with the information that we have. But then we're also layering on an engaged citizen detective community. We know that there are so many people out there who are following cases, who are interested, at least from an interest point in true crime. And we want to be able to provide an opportunity to move them toward advocacy. So we truly believe pulling all this information into one location, providing clear calls to action, information that's easy to read, easy to navigate, easy to share, and asking people to kind of fill in the gaps and crowdsource the information that needs to happen to help solve some of these cases.
Oh, I love it. You know that I'm all about true crime for good and for having it mean something, because I think interest is fine. But since we're all here, it's like, why not, band together and try to get some answers for some of these people, I mean, the most deserving, right? A lot of the cases that you are highlighting, many are ones people have certainly heard about and seen, but I was delighted to learn that you are also featuring some very more obscure cases that are, maybe more local in interest, didn't get national media attention, marginalized victims, victims whose profile don't hit the mainstream media for, all our different complicated reasons as a society. We don't value them as much. So you're doing all of that. But before we get super into those, why did you and your team at Uncovered feel this was a felt need? Like, there are other places to go, but what you've created is different. So can you talk about why you all decided to do this?
Yeah, so our backgrounds are in tech, community development, and marketing first. So we all come from kind of these varied backgrounds to be able to build products. So what you might see is like a marketing product, like an email product. So building systems to help people do their jobs easier. We all have a shared interest in unsolved cases. Whether it's, listening to podcasts, watching documentaries, or even just reading about cases that are local to us. Uniquely, Anna, one of our co-founders, we'd actually gone to college together, and her cousin went missing when we were in college, and that's still a cold case here locally in Indiana. And then being able to connect in our professional lives of still having this shared interest, but having this professional background that we felt like we could do so much more with. So the notion of building something and creating something and activating a community around good really spoke to us, and creating a public benefit corp around that. So we can actually activate people, we can have thoughtful discussions, we can provide trainings, resources to people, and pull all this information into one location and make it easy for people to navigate and share. We know that some of this information exists now, that there are different databases. I mean, there's, Reddit and Web Sleuths and even Facebook in some respects, but we also know that that's layered on with some other things that are a lot more distracting. So we wanted to be able to create a one-stop location for people to come to hear about those cases. And I love that you pointed out too, Rebecca, it's the cases that necessarily don't get as much attention. Every case should get attention. So our goal is to be inclusive as possible, not only with our community, so people feel like they have a place and that they can use their special superpower, their talent, or their hours of consuming information and put it toward good, but also inclusion of the cases that didn't get proper representation in the media, the community, or the justice system. So that looks like cases involving missing and murdered Indigenous women of color, sex workers, LGBT plus community. We want to make sure that those are also at the top of our list of cases that are visualized. So as we're going through, we're working with the community, talking what's happening locally from an anniversary perspective, a media perspective, or what the community has done their own research on. We actually conducted our own research at the beginning of 2020, right before we went into quarantine. And we asked 500 people who were interested in true crime, what would get you to act? What would get you to take the next step to do something good? Number one was knowing the victim, which we all can understand
Sure.
that. Number two was location. So if it happened in your hometown, if you knew about the area because you maybe grew up there, went to school there, had some affinity. And number three was just being asked to do something. Much like local politics, people don't do anything unless they're actually asked to do it, and then they will raise their hand. We are finding this over and over again with the community that we're curating and building right now. So we want to spread that opportunity to as many people as we can.
Oh, that is so interesting, and I'm sure applies to a plethora of other scenarios, but we're all so inundated with our lives and details, and we're absorbing so much information all the time that probably a lot of us would say we would want to help. But yeah, it's a matter of being asked, because the intentionality of carving out the time, may or may not occur to us. And a lot of the things you're asking people to do can be small and short and instant. And, there's kind of like degrees of ways to help. Could you go over maybe some of the ways people could actually do something?
Yeah, so we try and break down our calls to action as something as small as something you can do in the first 5 minutes. So that could be sharing on your own platform. So using your own agency and your own platform to help someone else just by sharing with your own network to say, you should hear about this case, here's why, just getting the information out there. So we're building it in the public eye. Then in the next 5 hours, endeavor more, listen to this full hour podcast, watch this documentary, or, if you have a couple weeks, 5 weeks, jump in with people and actually do research on a case, because we know we have a gap in a timeline, or we have some disputed information, or we're looking for photos so we can build a more visualized case so we can get more people involved. We know that there's varying degrees of how people want to kind of engage, especially content related to unsolved cases or true crime, that a lot of it seems to be transactional. We know that it's a big genre, but I mean, we're interested in this anyway. So why can't the byproduct be good and take all of those hours of consuming information and put them to good? And then collectively, the impact we could make can be huge.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. It resonated with me, the minute I heard about what you guys were doing. And as a user of your site and the platform, it is immersive. There is the visual element. It's clean. It's well designed. That goes a long way right now when there's information in lots of different places conflicting sometimes, to get accurate information in one place and then to be able to go to additional resources. I remember when I was working with you guys, I was writing some of the case narratives, and I had not heard of many of these stories. So, I dare people, it's like practically a challenge to read one and not want to do something. Your hometown, whether you've ever heard of them before, will not matter if you spend those minutes reading about someone's story. And for some, there was very little information out there. For children, they don't have a lot of life lived, which is, one of the saddest facts of missing children and unsolved murder of children. But for many reasons, different people don't have a big online presence, or just there's not that much information. So reading everything you can about someone really can change a perspective. And I'll never forget learning about Relisha Rudd through your platform. And just then I listened to the podcast Through the Cracks, and then you end up going on this whole journey. So you are helping when you participate, but I will say you get a lot too, because I know if there's one thing the true crime audience is, it's like insatiable when it comes to learning and hearing another great podcast. Like, you're also going to discover, there's discovery in it for you as well. So just, that's my little plug, is that you can really get lost in it in the best way possible.
Yeah, I love that. The thrill of the hunt we know is real.
Yes.
What you want to, if you have listened to one podcast, you've probably listened to a couple dozen more.
You're right.
You've probably Googled to see a photo, or, hey,
Yes.
I want to see on a map how close that is to something that I know in the area. We're putting that all in one location and making it easy for people to do that.
Yeah.
I'm a former school teacher, so I know people learn in different ways. They consume information in different ways.
Absolutely.
So moving people just from listening or watching or even perusing long form journalism to, now I see a map. Now I can see location. Now I can see all the sources related to a case and I can really dive in. Or maybe I don't want to, but I just wanted to see a picture, but I know that it's a verified photo. I know it's information that has been sourced, that people are working to pull more information on us. So even if it's the lightest touch of just coming to the site and looking at a few cases and maybe spending a few minutes or hours, depending how engrossed you get, or downloading our citizen detective guide or reading about photo analysis, like, the more people come, the more opportunity there is to engage people. Because we know that people might want to dive in and spend hours, or working with people in our uncovered community where we're curating, special events and opportunities to learn more, research and resources. We partnered with the National Freedom of Information Coalition recently to do a public records boot camp. So we're making sure that people have access to experts and are doing this in a proper, thoughtful way. And then it's always victim first as we go on.
I was so excited to learn about that partnership, because anybody who's a citizen detective, or many podcasters, have to go through that FOIA process, and it is real, and you don't know what you don't know. And so the fact that you guys offered that for free, I might add, is really brilliant. Have there been any other partnerships that have been, come to be very essential to your work and what you're doing?
Yeah, we're actually partnering currently with Purdue University and their forensics department.
Whoa.
So we're working on curriculum development, which is very exciting. So what an amazing opportunity to get in front of people who are going to be, potential law enforcement agents or people working in this field early, and show them, here's a process by way we can find information. Here's how you interact with the public. Here's how a community can come together for good. So we're doing that currently. We're working with the summer class, developing what that looks like, with digital literacy at the forefront, but also using the tools that we're creating in our community so it becomes normalized and people know how to kind of search this information and use these resources. So as we continue, we'll be rolling that out to additional campuses as well. I know.
That's really cool. That's really, really cool. And you mentioned a victim first approach, and then what you're talking about with these students sounds almost like an education in protocol and maybe ethics, which I know is coming up more and more. So CrimeCon just had a panel on the ethics of true crime storytelling. That might not be the official title, but where family members of victims affected by cold cases and murder are represented on these panels and talking about the importance of who you're talking about. These are real people with real families. So I know that's important to you guys. How do you incorporate that, and how does it inform what you're doing?
Yeah, so we have a manifesto. So up front, when you come onto our site, when you interact with what we do, we are victim first. We vow to do it together, but we vow to do it thoughtfully. So we have ground rules of how we'll engage with each other and how we'll engage with the community. But as a public benefit corp, we're bringing on specialty advisors to make sure that we're doing this in the right way, and to help along the way. And they're invested as much as what we're creating. So we've recently partnered with Angel Turner, who is a sister of Georgia Lee Moses, and she's come on as our family advocate advisor, and she's just been phenomenal. And she has, unfortunately, the unique skill set that she, has had to have gone through this tragedy, but And herself, she's an advocate, not only for her sister, but for other cases. So being able to come along her and provide support as much as we can, but also learning from her in the same respects, and learning together, what can we do? How can we help? How can we be better? And amplifying messages along the way has been really crucial to us.
I'm wondering, are there any absolute no-nos and like do not do this when engaging as a citizen detective? Because sometimes I think knowing what not to do is as helpful as knowing what to do. And some people might be like, well, at any cost, I want to help, for justice,
Yeah.
but maybe not. So does anything come to mind?
Yes. So since we work in publicly available information that is accessible now, we never want to re-victimize or re-traumatize our family. So we never reach out to family members unless they already have a presence where they have a page that they're maintaining, or they're an advocate in themselves. We don't want to reach out and, re-traumatize again, or provide an opportunity that it just would not be helpful in the case.
Yeah.
So that is key and paramount to us. And number two, we work in, unfortunately, cases that are at least 36 months or older, because we don't ever want to encroach on anything that might be active. And we know that a lot of cases may outspan that and may still have work being done. But we also know that the public is being asked all the time to, if you know something, say something, report something. But those channels are difficult sometimes. I was just reaching out for a case recently and tried the email and it didn't work. And this was the email that was shared in the media. So if this is what we're utilizing and asking people to help, we want to make it as streamlined as possible. So we're making sure that we're not stepping on any toes, but we see ourselves as a resource. There's a whole community here waiting to be activated, already in some pockets doing this. If we can come together and organize ourselves, we can truly make an impact here.
Yeah. Oh, that's so helpful to hear. Good guidelines. I know there's an initiative going on right now. Could you talk a little bit about that and be specific about the duration? Because I don't know all the details and I want to make sure you share what it is, a campaign going on that sounds very fun. And I think I'm involved maybe at the end.
You are.
I mean, I know I am, but let's break it down and talk about like how right now people could get involved with that.
Yes. So before we launch our memberships for our community, like I mentioned, we have the Uncovered community where you can come in and learn more information, have access to more resource tools, and actually roll up your sleeves and work on these cases. All of the information, all the publicly available information, the visualized cases will always be free on our site. But right now we're undergoing a crowdfunding to help us get to that next iteration. We want to be able to bring in more detailed data components, to be able to layer on opportunities to see patterns in cases, to track. I mean, there's no central database for all of this. It pops up in small pockets here and there. And especially, law enforcement agencies that don't have a dedicated cold case unit that are kind of acting sporadically. So this will help us kind of get to that next level of pulling in that data component and utilizing some AI opportunities to pull in as much information we can, but still have a human touch along the way.
Wow.
So right now we have a crowdfund campaign. So we're asking people to help us build this community, be part of that. Know that you had a small step in putting something amazing out into the world that can truly transform this genre, but also, the opportunity with the criminal justice system as well. So this campaign goes on through July 7th.
Okay.
We have many different perks, something small from any price point that people want to be able to contribute. Even sharing the campaign is helpful for us. But a lot of it is a membership based, because we want to make sure that we're putting it back in. So you have an opportunity to secure a membership ahead of time. You can get some special perks along that. So I mentioned our Citizen Detective guide that we have now that you can download to kind of learn the ins and outs of doing that. We have a Citizen Detective kit that has your notebook, your highlighter, all the things you'll need to continue this work. But we also have some really unique perks. So opportunities to do AMAs with some of your favorite content creators like Tim and Lance and James Renner and Maggie Freeling, but also the opportunity to get your friends together and do an amazing trivia with you.
That would be so fun.
Yeah, so we tried to provide an opportunity that people can come in with their friends, but also can come in and support something and get something in return to know that they've helped build something much bigger than themselves that can be sustainable.
Amazing. So it's through July 7th. Is there a number goal, a specific number?
Yeah, we're trying to get it to $125,000.
And where are we at as of this recording?
We are about 45,000 in.
Nice.
So Yeah, we are just encroaching about 40% there, so we're super excited. We still have at least 2 weeks left in our campaign, and we're just halfway there, but we know so many people are engaged, talking with people and providing them the opportunity to get involved has just been tremendous. And I mean, the content creator community has also been great of people have this information. That's another whole group that we've been working with,
Yeah.
that so often people are doing this research for your favorite podcast. So we want to come alongside them and provide them an opportunity to visualize. So you can go and listen to your favorite person tell a story or show you something that you haven't heard before. But the call to action can come and you can fill in the gaps with the work we're doing as well.
That is so cool. I have to say, too, my now 4 years being in the true crime community officially, it is a generous group. And I'm always so heartened when I see how they get together to do these things. I am curious, Ashlee, I know I mentioned Relisha Rudd, and you, I don't know how you do it, honestly, spend so much time absorbed in these cases, because I know I'm a true crime podcaster, but I have an interview format show where I'm talking to experts about their point of view. When I worked with your team on those cold cases, it was the most immersed I ever was in missing and unsolved murder cases. And it was hard. I actually, had to take bigger breaks than I anticipated. I think I pushed my deadline once with you guys because I just couldn't crank those out. You can't. So I'd like to know how that impacts you and sort of how you practice some self-care or boundaries. And then secondly, is there just a case right now? It doesn't have to be your overall case that keeps you up at night, but right now, is there one that's kind of top in mind that you could share with our audience?
Yeah, so that is a great question. This is heady information. And we always talk about as a team that part of consuming, this content, especially because you're interested in it, you almost kind of have to pay this tax of now you have to do something good with it. So, even if it's sharing a story with someone of like, have you heard about this? More people should know this person's story and you may know something. So we talk a lot about, how we're engaging with people, how we're making sure to kind of take those breaks to provide a space where we can have those conversations. But we focus so much, and this was where it was really helpful for you to come in and help us in this, Rebecca, is the personal story of someone. So we know the details are very important for the circumstances by which a case has happened or what is still left to be uncovered. But focusing on that person as an individual means so much, not only to the family members who are still seeking answers, but also gives this person a voice where it's been taken away. So as much as we can do that, we talk a lot of like, hey, this case we're getting ready to post, but did you know that they did this, or this was something in their life? So making sure that that's always top of mind is really important for us. And we're visualizing cases, weekly, and we're posting them as much as we can, not only with the cases that we're working in the community that take a kind of a longer runway for research, but those cases that we're pulling together because we're hearing back from other content creators with great partnerships or that have just kind of been in our backlog to be able to visualize. And one that we've been working a lot on is the Naja Farrell case. So that is a case local to Indiana, and it was a mother who went missing in 2019. She was never seen on her way to work. And then a month later, her foot was found in a retention pond about 100 miles north of her home. And that was it. That's all anyone had ever heard. And it did get some local media, but it didn't get as nearly, every case, again, deserves as much media as it can, as much attention as it can. So we've been working with a lot of great content creators to make sure that her case is getting out there and people are hearing about it again. We've been sharing it more and more, visualized it. And so we can amplify the work that her family is doing. I know that they just did a birthday kind of celebration, unfortunately during COVID, but we want to be able to be a support system to those family members who are still seeking answers. So that is a case that's been top of mind that we've been working on as a team and making sure more people know about it to share it. And unfortunately, that's just kind of one in a drop of a bucket. But as we're, uncovering more information, these cases that we're sharing with people, that people are coming to us. Actually, it's pretty interesting. A couple of weeks ago, we had a family member reach out to us about a case, and it was a cousin. His cousin was murdered in like the mid 70s. And he was only 10 years old, but he's kind of taken this case on, like it's still an unsolved case. And it was one that kind of got a lot of attention in the 70s because she was a college junior, and it was one that was a little bit salacious. But they still never found answers. So they reached out to say, hey, we heard that you're building this. Can you help us? We need as much eyes as we can. We've kind of gotten some media locally, and we're working a lot to get more of her case out. Within just a few hours of them reaching out to us, someone else reached out about that exact same case.
Oh my gosh.
And said, I know, right? Like we got like collectively we
Yeah,
were all like, "What did you read
same.
this?" It said, "I don't know if her family is still alive, but this case I have carried with me since 77 when she was found murdered because we lived on the same dorm
Oh
and I
my
knew her.
gosh.
And I just hope that you could be able to provide an opportunity to get her case out there." And like I said before, that hits two of the three things that we were talking about: a family member who's looking for answers, someone who was in the vicinity or has carried this with them for nearly 40 years. And if we could come on and layer on an engaged community, which is what we have, that wants to use, their research skills, their organization skills in a way that can help get answers, that will have met all three of the things that we know just by doing our own research are important to get people to move toward advocacy for others.
That's incredible. Talk about synchronicity. Is that case officially on uncovered.com yet, or is that in the works?
That's just in the works.
Okay.
That literally just happened within a few weeks.
That's crazy.
But it's one that we are working diligently now, and we're hoping to work with some content creators to share it. It may be tied to some other cases, and it's one where the family member's been trying to get some additional information, but they've kind of run into these roadblocks. So that's where again we can come and, hey, we can help file some public records. We have a whole community that can do some additional research. And I actually asked one of the members who's in our community, like, "Have you done research on this case before?" Just asking. And she came back, "Yes, I have." And I mean, she's did it years ago and she just kind of has it. So we know that there are pockets like that
Amazing.
all over the country. We actually just hosted an event last week. We do a series called What is a Citizen Detective, where we introduce people to other people kind of in this genre who've either made the jump to focus full time in citizen detective work, or, this is my day job, but this is a special skill I have, and here's how I apply it to case research, and here's how I've helped to fill in the gaps. And one of them was our community member, Kate, who is a data analyst by day. She works in the banking industry, but she knows all of these open source intelligence tools that she uses in her day job to make sure that people aren't stealing money from the bank. So she came on and led a really great resource tool for us. And here's, how to do this, how to do that. And it was just phenomenal. So we're curating opportunities like that to provide knowledge transfer within our community, but also provide people access to experts, tips, we want to make sure that people are doing this in a thoughtful way, but we want to make sure that people are activated for good.
Oh my gosh. And also, that's really good to hear. I feel like I need that reminder, and hopefully people listening will feel the same way. We don't all have to help the same way. It's sort of like leaning into your natural strengths and skill set and, what feels natural and what we do maybe professionally, or maybe what we do on the side that we're really good at, and find what that is. There's room for so much, and there's so much help needed. That's so cool. And of course, my brain is working overtime right now to see if I know what case you're talking about. Are you able to say it yet or not yet?
You
can wait. I respect it. I'm just already, the wheels are turning. Okay. Well, my gosh. So I will make sure in the show notes that we have uncovered.com, the campaign information. And I would just encourage everyone to follow you on Twitter and Instagram, probably Facebook too, right?
We're on all the things.
All the things, all the socials. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else you want to make sure people know about Uncovered?
Just to come and be part of the community. Like I said, even the smallest thing is important. And you don't know what you don't know until you're exposed to somebody else and what they're able to share with information. And we know that there's so many people consuming information. We have found a way to move people from consumption to advocacy with just a few small things that you won't even notice, but will be so beneficial to other people. And how great will that make you feel that you can take something that you're interested in, that you're doing every day, that you're probably listening to on your commute, or maybe you're Googling in front of the TV, and actually help someone with that. Like, how tremendous is that?
It's beautiful. I love nothing more. Ashlee, thank you so much for killing the small talk, being on Dialogue. Best of luck with the campaign. We will be doing everything we can over here at Dialogue and Yellow Tape to support you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Dialogue is a Yellow Tape media production edited by Jason Usry and produced and hosted by me, Rebecca Sebastian. Please be sure to subscribe to Dialogue, a true crime conversation, wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on social media. We are at Dialogue Pod across all platforms. You can also drop me a note or a guest suggestion or sign up for my newsletter at RebeccaSebastian.com. Be sure to join me every Wednesday for a new episode and another killer conversation.